just entered into the Crypto Chronicles with Kevin Anytime. Uncanny. Okay, we back again, y'all, but this time simply because the market is really getting on my nerves right now. No, it's doing some stuff, but this was just published just a few days ago, and just wanted to give you guys some comfort, because it's good to have that type of stuff right now when everything's going downhill, all right? But yeah, no, I'm just, yeah, about that. We're good, guys. We're totally good, okay? I don't know why it's happening. Can't tell you that. But I can definitely say I know where we're headed. And that's into the quantum financial system. But, yeah, obviously the numbers are like, ouch, right? And I just ended up buying some more because I'm like, dude, whatever. Like, I'm just throwing money out the window. Like Jermaine Dupri and Jay-Z, I'm like, money ain't a thing. The Ferrari and Jaguars with your 4 lanes, the top down screen. It's like, I'm just, man. I'm just like, who cares now? Who cares? Nah, but, sorry, y'all, I had to go on a quick little rant. It's, you know, when it gets like this, you want some type of, reassurance, you know? So I decided to pull this article up. I sent it to myself not too long ago when I first saw it, and I was like, okay, see, this is what I'm talking about. So this is Quartz. Whether we know whose blog this is or not really doesn't matter, but it gives some real good insight on what's happening. And let's take a look at the title here. Oh, the Fed's digital dollar could bring millions into the digital economy. Let's see, what are they talking about here? Whoops, let's get rid of, okay, let's get rid of this, boop, and let's see here. So, this is by Scott Nover. Don't know, he's an emerging tech reporter. But what he says, cash transactions are increasingly rare. More than half of transactions in the U.S. involved cash in 2010. The number had dropped to 28% in 2020, even before the COVID-19 pandemic, which led to wider adoption of cashless and contactless payment among businesses. There we go, y'all. See, it's like, okay, we know where we going. We don't know why the market's going where it's going, but we know where we going, all right? And we going to the moon. That's where we going. All right, look, but cashless means a heavier reliance on private companies, banks, credit card companies, payment processors, all of which have delays and fees that hit poor people hardest. At the moment, a cash-free economy would exclude the 7.1 million Americans, or 5.4% of U.S. householders, that are unbanked, meaning they do not have a checking or savings account at a bank or credit union, according to the FDIC's most recent study in 2019. Okay. Well, that has the U.S. Federal Reserve thinking about backing its own digital version of cash. Oh, really? Really? Okay, a Fed-backed digital dollar would, in theory, function like cash, without delays, processing fees, or onboarding requirements, and could usher unbanked or underbanked Americans into the digital economy. Citizens could sell cash digitally to one another or swipe a government debit card to pay, and that money would live in a Fed-backed wallet outside of the private banking system. Sounds like something we know already that's being put in place. But, okay, building a central bank digital currency, CBDC, carries a risk for failure, hacking, or breaches of personal privacy. But if the Fed can bring a digital dollar online, it could make the digital economy much quicker, more efficient, and more accessible to those who need it most. So, anybody ever heard of Chime? Oh yeah, check it out. You can go with Schwab too. They're mainly online. They got a few little facilities, but this is already something that's been in the works for a long time. So it's plenty of online banks that you can actually be a part of. I think even Capital One has already started their online bank. So it's like, this is where we going, y'all. So whatever the market is saying, however it's sliding down a razor blade and landing in an alcohol river, it doesn't even matter, okay? Because eventually you're going to patch up your wounds and we going to the moon, right? That's what we doing. We going to the moon. Okay, so let's just finish this article up. The digital divide is growing. Right now, the U.S. digital payment system relies heavily on the private sector. That has its downsides. Interest rates can hit hard if balances are not paid off. The average U.S. credit card balance was about $5,900 at the end of 2020. Banks charge overdraft fees if a person takes out more money from a checking account than they have. And while some apps like Venmo and Zelle allow people to easily transfer money between one another digitally, they are still largely linked to bank accounts with multi-day processing delays or fees for instant deposits. I don't know, except for Cash App, you get that right away. Okay, and then what's missing, say digital currency advocates, is a public option free of fees, delays, and hassles. The Fed revealed last summer that after years of in-house research, it had partnered with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, to understand the opportunities and limitations of a CBDC. Now, come on, y'all. MIT started Bitcoin. Is that coincidence? I don't know. At least that's the way this story goes, right? The project is set to release its findings later this summer, the next step before the Fed decides if and how to implement new currency. It is very expensive to be unbanked and participate in the digital economy. Neha Narula, who is leading Project Hamilton, in the name of the Fed-MIT collaboration, told lawmakers on June 9 that a digital dollar offered a ground-up redesign of our payment systems in the U.S. Skeptics like Republican Senator Pat Toomey pushed back on the idea that a CBDC is necessary, arguing a CBDC would turn the Fed into a retail bank and claiming that the private sector does the job well enough. Whatever to that, because they're sending out stimulus checks and they're basically silly with all this nonsense. But anyway, but Narula sees the opportunity as revolutionary. If we are able to create a well-designed interface to a central bank digital currency, we could do for the transfer of value what the internet did for the transfer of information, which is create a platform for innovation. She said at the hearing, access to the U.S. financial system should be a public good, said Hannah Halliburton, a professor at NYU Stern School of Business and a former senior economist at the Bank of Canada. A lot of central banks have a mandate to provide a means of transaction that would be free and accessible to everyone, she told Quartz. That's a reality for cash, but there's no digital equivalent at the moment. The Digital Dollar Project, a research group pushing for a CBDC in the U.S., said that the inclusion is the #1 priority. The project is a partnership between the consultancy Accenture. What? And then they said, Kev, we're going to cut you loose because you're reading too much. You're telling people what's going on. What are you telling people? Yeah, so where was I? Yeah, okay. A lot of central banks have made a mandate to provide a means of transaction that would be free and accessible to everyone, she told Quartz. That's a reality of cash, but there is no digital equivalent at the moment. The Digital Dollar Project, a research group pushing for a CBDC in the U.S., said that the inclusion is a #1 priority. The project is a partnership between consultancy Accenture and the Digital Dollar Foundation, a nonprofit co-founded by Christopher Giancarlo, the former chair of Commodity Futures Trading Commission. It's very expensive to be unbanked and participate in the digital economy, said David Treat, a director of the Digital Dollar Project and a senior managing director at Accenture. As we make more and more advancements in the digital economy, that divide is just growing. The U.S. isn't leading the way. Yeah, we know we're a little behind. So, what does that have to do with anything? Should I even read that? Probably not. Let's go into this one. Digital dollars versus cryptocurrency. One of the biggest questions is whether an official digital currency should be set up in the same way as cryptocurrency. Private cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ether rely on blockchains, decentralized ledgers that hold real-time transactions across many computers. A digital US dollar would not necessarily need to. That poses fundamental questions for America's Federal Reserve. Will a digital dollar be run by the commercial banks or the Fed itself? Will there be a physical card associated with it so it can be inclusive of users who do not have access to broadband or a smartphone, which is barely not anybody at this point in time? But Halliburton said most central bank proposals right now don't rely on a blockchain, in part because there are limitations and costs associated with many different computers replicating the same transactions. Narula told lawmakers that she too doesn't believe the system would necessarily need to be based on blockchain, but said it must be encrypted in some way. The Digital Dollar Project, meanwhile, is considering various architectures, but believes that a distributed ledger system would offer the most robust security. It is testing a series of pilot programs for a US-based CBDC and is building Sweden's e-krona on distributed ledger technology. At the moment, this leaves more questions than answers. So, let's take a look at this, y'all. I'm not going to read this whole article, but we got some bullet points like a more secure system. Yeah, and okay, that is the last one. So, let's just let's dive a little bit into it. The downsides of a digital dollar revolve almost entirely around two issues: privacy and security. I mean, really, security? I mean, people was robbing banks. It really don't make a difference, but whatever. Unlike cash, a digital system can be hacked. Unlike cash, a digital system can be hacked. Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, there's no physical barrier to lifting copious amounts of digital currency. A digital currency system would be an obvious target for hackers, which could put Americans' data and finances at risk. But Narula says that there are ways to secure the system, for example, by making it an open source with an open API. I'm a firm believer that open source software is critical for security, she said. The more people who are looking, the more likely you are to find bugs and to find problems. And a digital currency also presents a new way for the state to monitor its citizens. Yeah. So it's like, I'm not even trying to pay attention to none of this, because basically what they saying is that digital currency is coming. Okay? Fed's digital dollar could bring millions into the economy. Blah, blah, blah. Look at that. It's digitizing. Okay? Because that's where we're headed, guys. That is the moral of the story. And again, if you want to read this, it's under QZ.com. Fed's digital dollar could bring millions into the digital economy, just put out here a couple days ago. And yeah, just that title alone, I'm bullish on crypto, but it's up to you. So I leave you with this: I can only show you the door. It must be you to walk through it. Anytime out.